freedom is something you earn every day, and that strength is something we need to reinforce.
I'm Candice Malcolm, and this is the Candice Malcolm Show. No, Prime Minister Carney, freedom is not something you earn every day. Freedom is something that we are born with, that we are given from God, and not something that our government can take away. So thank you very much for that. All right, folks, we have a great show today. We're going to react to the throne speech a little bit more. We're going to show the highlights and some of the lowlights, because there was quite a bit of cringe in there. So let's jump right into it. First of all, King Charles kicked off the throne speech by delivering, yes, you guessed it, a land acknowledgement. Let's play that clip.
I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered on the unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. This land acknowledgement is a recognition of shared history as a nation, while continuing to deepen my own understanding. It is my great hope that in each of your communities and collectively as a country, a path is found toward truth and reconciliation in both word and deed.
Yeah, we've had enough of the wokeness, okay? We don't want the woke anymore. King Charles, the whole idea that you would say it's unceded territory, you're acknowledging the claim that Canada is not a legitimate country. So to have the king come and deliver a throne speech and right at the beginning, in the first few words, say that Canada is illegitimate, it just makes the entire thing ridiculous. What a spectacle. We want people who will stand up for our country, stand up for our institutions, and not undermine every single aspect about it. I mean, he's the royal family, for goodness sake. This is why I said yesterday that I like the tradition. I like the idea of the monarchy that's served us very well over the years, but come on with these people. This is a clown show. Okay, next, King Charles said the federal government would change firearm licensing and increase restrictions on firearm possessions while claiming to protect the rights of law-abiding gun owners. I've heard this before. This is just absolutely outrageous to have the king come and threaten our lifestyle, threaten our way of life, and try to take away guns. Let's play that clip.
To keep communities safe, the government will hire 1,000 more RCMP personnel. It will change firearms licensing and strengthen enforcement of yellow and red flag laws. Weapons licenses for those convicted of intimate partner violence and those subject to protection orders will be revoked. Through the deployment of scanners, drones, and helicopters, additional personnel, and canine teams, the government will stem the tide of illegal guns and drugs across the border. It will take these steps while protecting the rights of law-abiding gun owners and Indigenous peoples' long-standing hunting traditions.
I really don't like hearing the king make partisan slogans on behalf of the Liberal government, but give me a break. Canada has a crime problem, and the crime does not come from law-owning individuals. So cracking down on law-abiding gun owners is ridiculous. It is patently ridiculous nonsense, and it's just such a spectacle that the king is now involved in this nonsense. And talk about more Liberal sloganeering. Here's King Charles defending the CBC.
The government is resolute in its determination to protect those institutions that highlight and promote that identity around the world, such as CBC, Radio-Canada.
Yeah, no, don't want it, don't need it. Absolutely ridiculous. Okay, we have Pierre Poilievre, leader of the Conservative Party, coming in and correctly saying that the throne speech was just full of slogans and lacked solutions. So here is Pierre Poilievre at a press conference saying that the throne speech had no plan to address the government's morbidly obese spending, anti-energy laws, or justice reform system. Let's play that clip.
We did see a lot of the right slogans and political talking points, but no clear plans to get it done. One slogan dealt with controlling government spending, but there were no specific savings to roll back the morbidly obese Liberal government's costs. We saw promises about getting things built, but no mention of oil and gas or pipelines. Pipelines are, of course, the thing we most need to build. Didn't get one mention. Nor did they mention getting rid of the anti-energy laws that have kept our resources in the ground. They mentioned crime, but refused to say that they would repeal the Liberal catch and release bail law, C-75, or the house arrest law, laws that have allowed rampant chaos and crime to overtake our once tranquil streets.
Sorry, I just have to say it. Pierre Poilievre and Melissa Lantsman have the same hairstyle. It looks kind of funny with them standing side by side. Okay, next, Pierre Poilievre said that he agreed with some of the messaging behind the throne speech. Of course, because recall that Mark Carney stole half of the Conservative platform in his platform. But Poilievre said that only the Conservatives have a plan to deliver on that vision, promising to table comprehensive amendments that include specific proposals on energy, crime, and spending. Let's play that clip.
There are some messages we want to see is planned. So we're going to put forward what we consider to be a constructive amendment that will add very specific plans. So for example, the government says they want to get projects built. Great. We've got just the plan to do it. Repeal C-69, the anti-development law. Repeal the energy cap, the offshore shipping ban, the electric vehicle mandate, and unlock the incredible investment that could bring jobs and self-sufficiency to Canada. They say they want to reverse course on crime. Well, we've got the plan for that too. We will put forward an amendment that says that they should repeal C-75, the catch and release bail law. They say they want to get their spending back kind of hilariously under control after decades of overspending. Well, we've got plans for that too. So our amendment will put real plans in place rather than slogans and talking points.
There we go. Next, we had Alberta Premier Danielle Smith on X coming out with this response to the throne speech. She writes, Albertans need to see the federal government reset its relationship with Alberta, starting with a clear commitment to work with Alberta to build an oil pipeline to the northwest BC coast, as well as repealing the emissions cap, Bill C-69, the tanker ban, and the net zero electricity regulations. Well, it's nice to hear the Prime Minister's commitment to build projects of national significance and position Canada as a conventional energy superpower. There's sadly no mention in the throne speech of any substantive actions or policy repeals to address the priorities that I have outlined to the Prime Minister on behalf of Albertans. I look forward to hearing from the Prime Minister about these specific action items. Time is of the essence, as Albertans need to see meaningful action within weeks, not months. Absolutely. Okay, next we have Bloc leader Yves-François Blanchet saying that the speech was just an act of centralization and that Mark Carney sees himself as the CEO of Canada. Let's play that clip.
It is the most important initiative by a federal government towards centralization that I have seen or heard of. I do not believe it is ill-intended. I believe that Mr. Carney sees himself culturally as the CEO of Canada, and he will make decisions, and he will have his decisions being implemented by everybody, and he seems to see that Quebec and provinces are merely region offices.
Regional offices. I like that one. I've also heard that Mark Carney is the bankruptcy trustee of Canada, and he is here to sell us for scraps. Next, Blanchet said that at the beginning of the campaign, the threat was Donald Trump, and during the speech, there was just no mention of Trump, that he just disappeared. Let's play that clip.
The issue at the beginning of the campaign was the threat from Donald Trump, and in the speech, there's no such thing. It just vanished, disappeared.
Well, of course it did, because it was just a ploy to win the election. I actually agree with the idea to not have references to President Trump in our throne speech. The throne speech is supposed to be about Canada and the governing agenda, and there's no reason to talk about the Americans in our own throne speech. Well, President Trump renewed his offer to Canada to become the 51st state. This is what President Trump had to say on Truth Social on Tuesday. He writes, I told Canada, which very much wants to be part of our fabulous Golden Dome system, that it will cost $61 billion if they remain a separate but unequal nation, but will cost $0 if they become our cherished 51st state. They are considering the offer. I promise you, they're not considering the offer. Canada's not considering that. But super interesting. I mean, if it's going to cost $61 billion, I mean, that would pretty much get Canada across the line of spending 2% of our GDP on defense, which is what we're supposed to do. But it's a heck of a lot of money to be part of something that may or may not be used ever. So in response, CTV had this to say, Canada is a sovereign nation, according to PMO. PMO responds to Trump's Golden Dome offer in a statement to CTV News. Prime Minister's office wrote, the Prime Minister has been very clear at every opportunity, including in his conversations with President Trump, that Canada is an independent, sovereign nation and and will remain one. You're almost starting to think whether Trump and Carney are like coordinating this. Like anytime Carney needs a bump in the polls or like a positive headline, he just gets Trump to tweet something like this, and then Carney gets to respond and be Captain Canada. Well, in an interview on our favorite show, CBC, with David Cochrane, Cochrane asked if he still thinks President Trump wants to break us so that he can own us, and just watch Carney's response.
The line you said with some frequency during the election was he wants to break us so he can own us. Do you still believe that's true?
I think the president, I won't look into his soul, but the president is recognizing, as others are, just how strong and free Canada is. And so if you look at the speech from the throne today, as you did, this is about investing in Canada. This is about building Canada, about making one Canadian economy out of 13. It's about nation-building projects. Each of those and those together give us much, much more than could ever be taken away by trade action.
Yeah, so he's out there saying that Canada is really, really strong, and the numbers are pointing a totally different direction. I want to show you this story from the Toronto Sun. Liberals allowing 1 million foreign students were costly to Canadians. So Bank of Canada research shows that the federal Liberals' decision to allow 1 million foreign students into the country had a significant impact in some employment sectors and cost Canadians jobs and wages. The study confirmed a 2022 Employment Department report that foreign labor led to Canadian workers being replaced per Blacklock's reporter. They accounted for a larger share of workers in low-skilled occupations, replacing Canadian-born workers who moved out of these jobs, said the report. This is unbelievable. The idea that they come to Canada as students, right? The whole idea of coming as a student means that you're supposed to be in school. So why do they even have a visa to work? Let me tell you, I did an exchange program when I was in university where I went to Australia. And when I was in Australia, my visa did not allow me to work. I could not get a job on campus. I couldn't work at a coffee shop because my visa was for me to go to school and be a student. And that was the whole idea. So the idea that that people can come to Canada, pretend to go to school, some of them don't even go to real schools, and then they can go in and take the low-wage jobs of Canadians, it's so absurdly ridiculous. And yet this government has no plan to actually change course on this. Okay, and more from this Bank of Canada report. This is what the Toronto Sun and the Blacklock's report are based on. So you can see just the growth in our population. Look at this chart. Canada is the highest growth country out of the G7 here, but you can see how almost all of our population growth is due to immigration, nothing to do with our actual birth rate, which is alarmingly low. Next, the contribution to annual growth. I mean, just look at this. Look at the non-permanent residents that Canada admitted since COVID under Justin Trudeau. It is so unbelievable that we would allow this many people to just come to our country without any path to becoming Canadian, without any obligation to respect our laws and our customs, and just, they come and go. They come as students. They actually take jobs. It's really quite something how immigration has had this effect on Canada. Further to Mark Carney's idea that Canada is strong, Hudson Bay, the iconic Canadian company, is the latest and last casualty of the Trudeau government, the Liberal government. Hudson Bay is terminating 8,000 employees, firing them, and closing all of its stores. Ezra Levan on X aptly wrote, the Hudson Bay has been around since 1670. It survived the British, American, and French revolutions, Napoleon, 2 world wars, the Great Depression, the Great Recession, and 9/11, but it could not survive the Trudeau-Carney Liberal government. How sad. Very, very sad. And apparently part of the Hudson Bay company is being bought out by a Chinese investor. How perfectly metaphoric of our country. I want to continue on the topic of Rebel News. So Rebel News' reporter, Alexa Lavar, bumped into a cabinet minister, former cabinet minister Ahmed Hussein, who just absolutely refused to even answer her questions, address her concerns. And he just flatly says, you're not a journalist, stop pretending to be one. Okay, folks, the Rebel is like the mirror image of the CBC. So just imagine for a second that this was a CBC reporter and this was how Pierre Poilievre or one of the Conservative MPs or shadow ministers dealt with the CBC. It would be like a national outrage, right? But these Liberal cabinet ministers, these Liberal MPs just feel such disdain towards Canadians and non-legacy media reporters. It's really quite something to see. Let's play that clip.
Any word, mister, about the Israeli government
I don't talk to
warning?
Rebel News. No, you're not a real journalist.
It's
not real news. Leave us alone. It's not real news.
I'm sorry. Do you believe that
Can you leave me alone?
that public servants should be accountable?
Leave me alone.
Do you believe on the freedom of press? Do you believe on freedom of the press?
You're not a real journalist. Stop pretending to be one.
I would love to see a conservative say that to someone from the CBC. Just so rude, so much disdain. Just like, get away from me, you pesky little peasant. You're not a real journalist. Go away. Leave us alone. Unbelievably rude. Just bad manners all around. And, you know, you could just say no comment. You could just ignore her. Or you could actually engage and do what politicians are supposed to be with the press, which is be held accountable and answer some questions. Instead, just total arrogance. All right, and we're going to end the show on what I think is a bit of a positive note. I've told you before that I love the Make America Healthy Again movement, the MAHA movement. Well, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., or RFKJ, he was sort of the leader of the movement, and then he merged together with President Trump, endorsed him, so it was MAHA and MAGA. And here we have, and then he was appointed to the Health and Human Services as the secretary. Well, today he had a big announcement. He announced that today the COVID vaccine for healthy children and healthy pregnant women has been removed from the CDC recommended immunization schedule. Bottom line, it's common sense and good science. We are now one step closer to realizing POTUS's promise to make America healthy again. And there he is with NIH Director Jay Bhattacharya. I love that guy. And FDA Commissioner Marty Makary. This is excellent. I'm sorry, but one of the things that just drives me absolutely crazy in Canada is that they still recommend this thing to children, right? Even during COVID, we know that children weren't the ones that were getting very sick and getting very ill from COVID. So the whole idea that they had to have this it never made any sense. And can I just say that for me as a mom, it made me doubt the entire immunization schedule. The fact that that was in there, it just didn't seem right to me from everything that I read, everything that I understood about the COVID illness itself, plus the vaccine. So some common sense, a step in the right direction. I don't really have a lot of hope that Canada will follow suit, but you never know. And I think that this is very good for the world. Let's make it all healthy again. Time for Canada to have a Make Canada Healthy Again movement. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. We'll be back again tomorrow with all the news. I'm Candice Malcolm. This is the Candice Malcolm Show. Thank you, and God bless.
You're watching Juno News, Canada's fastest growing independent news network. Our team works day and night to bring you nationwide coverage of the issues that matter. Honest reporting of the stories that put Canadians first. From far and wide, Juno is doing the work to turn the dial in the right direction, bringing you the news from the field and in the studio. Wherever it takes us, we get the job done. For you, for Canada. Subscribe today and help us replace the CBC. Go to junonews.com to join the fight.